Alright guys, I'm trying to keep this short just because I don't think it's anything super crazy that we're going to do with me not being there, but I need you to understand some of these basic things. So the first one, it says, we talked about this last time, what is the value of f of x equals 3? The last time we actually gave you the value, and then I wanted you to find the y value. Well, now they're giving you the y value, and they want you to find the x values. I don't know if you notice, there is multiple points that have a y value of 3. And so again, on this one, they're going to separate the x values with commas. So you'd have 3 answers technically, because if I say f of negative 4, the answer would be 3. If I say f of negative 1, the answer would be 3. If I say f of 2, the answer would be 3. So again, this one's kind of like giving you the y value to find the x. Okay, careful of that. We talked about domain and range last time. What's new, what's going to be on your little quizzes today is going to be, is it a function or not? So we do the vertical line test to determine whether it's a function. If I draw a vertical line and it hits that function twice, then it's not a function. Alright, so if it hits that line twice, any vertical line I draw, that's going to prove it's not a function. So you're going to say not a function. Alright, you can still find the domain and range, like we did last time. So the domain on this one's still negative 1 to 5, and the range is still negative 3 to 3. Okay? But they're going to ask, give me 2 points that prove it's not a function. Well, 2 points would be these 2 points, because they're on the same vertical line, prove it's not a function. So 2, 3 proves it's not a function, and 2, negative 3 proves it's not a function, because x can't repeat in order for it to be a function, aka why we do the vertical line test. So again, I would have done the same thing here. Is it a function? This one would be no, because it fails the vertical line test, because it hits it at so many different points. This one would be yes, because it passes the vertical line test. Okay? And again, domain and range, don't forget on these ones, domain on this first one is just a singular number, whereas the range is going to be negative infinity to infinity. And this is kind of the opposite. The range is a singular number, and the domain is negative infinity to infinity. Again, we talked about that last time, but just kind of recapping as well. So now it's going to say, is it a function? On both of these, hopefully you say yes, because anytime I draw a vertical line, it only hits it one time, which is what I want. Okay, same way with the other one. So here's some other ones. There's kind of some general ideas. This is where we're kind of headed, some parent functions. So you have square root right here in the middle. This is going to be y equals, this is going to be x equals a number. This is going to be y equals a number. This is a circle, which we don't talk about the function a whole lot. This is one of our x parent functions. It's a piecewise function. But again, domain and range is kind of the general idea. I was going to do those practice problems. I'm not too worried about on this one. You do see this. Again, this will be on the Hawks. But domain of this one, it tells you x belongs to z. So the domain is z. And it says y is equal to x. So the range is also going to be z because it's equal to the same thing. This one over here, again, they just tell you what it is. Domain is z. Range is n. Because it says y belongs to. And there's nothing like that on the quizzes, so the general idea. I want to talk about domain and range on these ones. If I ever give you just points, the domain is going to be the x values, the range is the y values. So don't make it super complicated. So the domain would be 0, negative 3, negative 1, 0. The range would be negative 5, 1, negative 4. And you don't have to list negative 4 twice. You just list it one time. Is this a function? The answer would be no, because if you look at these 2 points, down here at the bottom, they're on the same vertical line, which is not what we want. Okay, here is the big part of today. This is what most of your but your quizzes is over. I'm going to try to just keep it short and sweet. We'll do just 2 of them. I'll do the easy one here first. When it says find the implied domain, so we're worried about the x value. So I'm going to find the x, locate it. Notice it's on the bottom of a fraction. Realize we talked about this before. You can't have 0 on the bottom. So I'd add 12, x can't be 12. So we'd write, as our domain, negative infinity to 12, union 12 to infinity. Now notice I use a parenthesis on 12 because that indicates that I can't use 12. Okay? I'm going to go back to this bottom one here in a second. Let me do the square root one first. So this one right here, again, the x is inside a square root. We're trying to find the implied domain. You just take what's inside the square root and set it greater than or equal to 0, and I subtract 9. So now I graph it on a number line. Shade, -9 to infinity would be my domain. Because you got to write it in notation. Again, that's when it's inside a square root. So now, what if it's inside a square root and on the bottom of a fraction? Well, we have to take this one, and instead of saying greater than or equal to 0, we're just going to say greater than, because do I want it to be equal to 0? No, because it's on the bottom of the fraction. So I subtract it. -2, so let's say -2 to infinity. That pretty much covers that stuff. Again, just take what's inside the square root. I don't care about the stuff that's on the outside when I'm trying to find the domain, unless it has an x out there. And the last thing you're going to see today is rewriting a relation as a function of x. It's really just a fancy way of saying, hey, solve this for y. So you just move stuff around and you solve for y. So like on this one right here, you could add 5y over and divide by 9. So when you type it in, that would be your answer. So then it'll say part 2 is telling you to evaluate the function for f of 2. So I just replace all the x's with 2. And again, we practiced that before. There's a couple of those on the quizzes as well. Okay, that's it for today. I'm not gonna. If you have extra time, please work on Missing Hawks. But I want you to get that quizzes done. It's a long one, but a lot of it's like yes/no questions, what's the domain and range, stuff like that. There's some multiple choice on there. Okay, thanks guys.